So good morning. I think how many people do we have online now? How many? Okay, so good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for connecting us this morning. I'm not going to spend more than 1 hour, 15 minutes for today. We started late to enable others connect. It's not always good to have very little participant in the class. So I have 3 things to do this morning. I will review ICT for D and emerging tech module, what we have covered to date, and the ongoing assessment. A lot happened within the last 3 weeks, and I think with us giving you 1 week off, I think that enabled many of you to catch up with the activities before you. And I will also review lectures I posted into the Introduction to Innovation class. It's a very interactive lecture done by Fatima, and I believe if you watch the video, you would definitely have a basic understanding of what innovation is all about. And I must appreciate Fatima for taking time to do that lecture, and I think it's very relevant to what we are doing. I'll also look at the activities for Introduction to Innovation module. There is a lot of work for us to do going forward. And I will just have to switch my screen. So by default, you should be able to have 4 modules in your dashboard. If you don't have these 4 modules in your dashboard, I suggest you please reach out to the tech team, email ideas@Bayes University, and I believe they will be happy to support you. So I just log into one of the participant account. I think we started with the digital literacy. I believe many of you are still doing the digital literacy. If you are still on this, I suggest you move fast and do it as soon as you can. As I said yesterday when we had the physical interaction, we'll let this course to go on as a rolling module. But for those that are taking part in the physical class, it cannot go on like this because we set a target. We hope to get all our physical participants before the end of this week, end of this month. So if you really want to be with us in person, you just have to move fast, finish the digital literacy, then you log into the ICT 4D module. If you look at the number, for the ideas digital literacy, we have about 56,000 participants. But for the next module, we have those about 16,000. And for emerging technologies, we still have about 16,271 participants. Yes. Then we also have the Introduction to Innovation. So the requirement for you to be enrolled into the your core area of interest is passing these 4 modules. So you must pass digital literacy for you to be enrolled into ICT for D. So by default, if you're in ICT for D, it clearly means you pass the digital literacy module. So if you pass digital literacy module, you pass ICT for D, you pass emerging tech, you pass Introduction to Innovation, will automatically add you into your main area of interest. And really, you need to have your attention focused towards this. We must get this done before the end of this month. The physical class starts first Monday of May. I would suggest you go on and do that. So I got a message from Abdul. Abdul just hinted me there is something ongoing. He wants you to interact with our Telegram account. So you send to my base email. Did you email me to my base email? It's not yet in my email, Abdul. I didn't have it. Yeah, I didn't have your email. So maybe it's still on its way coming. So anyway, maybe I'll wait for a bit. If you can do it, I'll quickly, you send. So Abdul wants you to interact by Telegram. I suggest, please, if you are not in the Telegram account, log into the Telegram. A lot is happening there, so that you don't miss out on many important information. I still don't have it. Okay, so I think I have it. So I'll just hang on for maybe 1 minute. So colleagues, this is the link to sign on to the Telegram. You can post your question by the Telegram if you have any question to ask this morning. And I think it's important if you can email the participant the QR code. Yes. Do I still need to wait for more time? Or I can go on? Let me do this, probably. If you can take the camera up, maybe, is it okay now? Can you scan? I mean, you can try and scan to be sure the participant can get us. We can adjust after doing the. Can you scan the QR code? Because it's very important they have it. Yeah, so it's working. So I will still give 30 seconds for you to get the QR code. Abdul, I think you can email them going forward so that they can have access to God's power. The screen is fine now, we can go on. Okay, so thank you very much for this understanding, because this is very, very critical for us to disrupt. Okay, so going forward, as I said, you should have these 4 modules. And I'll just switch back to my previous screen. So for this, if you take introduction, ICT for D, I gave 4 assignments, if I can remember. For the first CA, I think I have about 9,201 assignment. I did some filtering yesterday night. I think as of yesterday, I have about 11,000. So I noticed many of the participants submitted twice, some even 3 times. And some even duplicated what they have submitted earlier. And I think I mentioned this in our physical interaction yesterday with some of you. We are not using human intelligence or human capability to mark this assignment. We're using AI to grade you. And one of our colleagues is currently on top of developing a model that could grade this assignment. Already someone have started grading the assignment. I think I and one of my colleagues have graded almost 3,000 assignments, and it's impressive. So we are using what we have graded to train the model to do the assessment. So it's an impressive assessment coming from you, and truly I'm excited to see some of the work you have done. I think I've just opened some of your assignment. I think someone scored 4, you could see the grading done, 4, some 3, some even 0. Some scored 2. So you could see the grading based on the amount of the work you put together. And we have 3 criteria we use to grade this assessment. Number 1, we look at the originality. Is it really, really, really your work? Did you really do this work? You know? Or you just go to the Google and copy and paste, or you use the generative AI to do this work. We are teaching innovation, so we are not stopping you from using generative AI. We just want you to be responsible AI users. So please be responsible, use generative AI, use open available content in the internet, but always acknowledge. And we want to see your work being really voiced out in your submission. We don't want to see just work coming from the internet or from the generative AI tool. So, and going forward, as I've said in the last time, you are subjected to Bayes University academic integrity policy. At any time, if we discover you are not within the context of academic integrity guidelines of Bayes University, will automatically remove you from the program. So don't just copy and paste. Copy, you know, add your own flavor to the work. It's not a do or die issue. We are very, very sensitive when it comes to the marking. We are not applying our marking scheme and marking criteria for Bayes University. We are very, very flexible. We know some of you are very, very busy executive. Some of you are currently supporting family, having 247 engagement to support the country. Some of you are military men in the battleground. Some are frontline workers in the hospital and at various locations. So just be responsible, as I said, and let us see how we can help. If you think you are overstretched, you can relax and take some time and submit. And mind you, we are also very careful about the timing. We have to meet up with the expectation of the program. It must be done within context. So I think that's all for the first assignment. I think for the second assignment, we have about 8199, 8198 assignment. I think I said yesterday it's about 9,000. So I was able to trim down the submission. As I said, it's also very, very impressive submission from you. The quality of the work done by many is incredible. And we look forward to see more of this coming from you. Then for the third assessment, we have about 7260, which clearly shows half of you have already dropped the assignment, which is also very, very impressive. Then for the final assessment, middle assessment, I have about 734, which is also very, very impressive. And I have to acknowledge that the work is really of quality from what I have seen. Then I also have the emerging tech assignment. So based on your suggestion and your feedback, I only gave one single assignment for the emerging tech. And I can see your submission is also very, very impressive. You know, it's really, really very well. And I can see references, I can see, but you know, mind you, if you have references, you need to have the other leg, the citation. I've seen some of your work is just citation, referencing, no citation. As you progress, we'll take you into how to do this effectively. But the most important element for this engagement this morning is to show you what you guys have already done for the major assessment for the ICT for D. So just yesterday, I just have to change the pattern of the examination based on the physical engagement I had with you guys. I think many of you shouted at the negative marking. And when I hear that, I say, okay, it's fine. We can change the negative marking to be just the usual way of doing exams. So for this, as I've said, you have up to 24 hours to drop your assignment. And I think to date, we have almost 1,000 students have dropped down their assignment. So which I think is impressive. Do you have any question from the platform? Not yet. So if you have any question, do just let me know. You can just take your hand up, and I will be happy to respond. Yes, so as I said, for this, do take time and try as much as you can to do the assignment within the agreed time. And still, I still have issue with many of you. As you can see, some are even putting their password as their student ID. Your password is not your student ID. Your password is, your password is your password. It's a private thing that we don't want you to see. Someone just put his password as his student ID, which is not really good for the system. And if you go down again, you could see someone just put ideas/24 for the submission, and automatically we have no means to recognize you. Then some even use app ID. You could see app ID. After I clearly put to you that you cannot use your app ID, just use your idea, someone just put not given yet. So as I said, we are not using human to do most of this grading. We are using the AI to support us with the grading. And someone also put his own password. So please, this is not encouraging, as I said many times. Don't go beyond what we ask you to do. And someone just put slash. If you don't have your ID, please talk to the project team. They will be happy to guide you. We still have app. So please, if you are not in the Google Classroom, we cannot, if you are not in the LAN system, you are automatically not in this program. So if you do it, you just do it on your own. We know we gave an open link by Google Form, but you should be very, very careful with the way you respond to the system. So do you still have question or no question? Do you have question for me to respond?
Yeah, somebody is saying that they can't access the ICT for D.
Yeah, so if you cannot access the ICT for D, as I said, email the tech team. They will be happy to assist. So if you are not in the classroom, you are automatically out of this program. If you have your admission given earlier, it's fine. You can engage them. They will be happy to add you. But if you are not there, there is no way we can be of help to you. So as I've said, to date, we have about 1,651 students that have already submitted their assignment. Their final assessment for the ideas. And this is impressive. I think the average score is 95 over 140. I think 95 over 140 is, what is the percentage of God's power? 95 over 140, what's the percentage? The average percentage for this program. Let me do the 90, so 95 divided by 140 is 67%. So that's the average mark for all of you, which is very impressive. And this really aligns well with the normal curve for assessment, although we have more of F, but very little at the top end of the corner. So from 90 is a bit tough, but if you look at the median score, I think the highest score is, is 99. The median score is 99. Then the range, the lowest is 37. Then the highest is 127. I think it's very impressive looking at the outcome. And I've seen the most frequently failed question. So as I suggest, you have just up to today to finish this assessment. And I wish you all the best. So if you go to the ideas learning, we have the emerging tech. If you go to the curriculum, I posted things around introduction. We have the slides, we have the videos, we have the links. And still, as I said, I'm yet to see a good number of people visiting the site. And I think from the schedule we had earlier, we'll be doing this exam sometime next week for the emerging tech, and you still have about 100 questions to go on. With that, then you still have the introduction to innovation. For this, I've started putting all the content for you. We have the what is disruptive innovation. I want you to watch this video on disruptive innovation. If you have time, watch the video. You have the recommended books. I think I put around 25 books. Sorry, about 5 books for you to read. I have 21 lessons for the 21st century. In fact, it's a recommended book for all our Introduction to Innovation students. I teach Introduction to Innovation for our students in the university, and it's a compulsory course for all students. And this book is recommended for them to read, and 2 more other books, but I know you don't have much time to go through all the 3 books, but I recommend you take this one and read. Without reading this book, you may not be able to meet up with the expectation for this module. There is 2 other books written by the same author, Homo sapien and Homo Deus. So if you have time, go through them. Then I also have a folder that I've added for you in the platform with too many books. I think I put around 7 books if I can remember. Innovation books. I think it's innovation books. I think that's the name of the folder. Innovation. I think that's the name. Yeah, no, not innovation books. Yes. So I have about 5 different books for you. Create the Future, textbook. We have the Leading Innovation and Making Stone Soup. So I'll talk more around that tomorrow in the tomorrow's interactive section. Then I have the Homo sapien, and I have the Homo Deus. So there are 2 interesting books that I always recommend my students to read. So, but if you go to the 21 lesson for the 21st century, I don't want you to read the entire book because it's too heavy. It's too heavy for you to read. But I would suggest, if you have time, you can go through part 1 of the book. In part 1, there is issue around disillusionment, work, liberty, and equality. So if you have time, read this part of the book. You may jump part 2 as well as part 3. Then if you have time, I would suggest you read the science fiction. Then if you have time, you can read part 5, education, meaning, and so. But if you have time, I would suggest this is one of the most interesting book I have read, and feedback coming from my student is really, really very interesting. So read this book. It will definitely help you to sharpen your thinking around innovation. Then if you have time also, I would suggest you go through this book, Brief History of Humankind, because if you really want to innovate, you need to know where human life begins. And while reading this book and a few other books that talk about the philosophy of innovation, it clearly shows to us that our focus is towards the Industrial Revolution, which I think is good, but there is other revolution that happened before the Industrial Revolution that will clearly support us to think much more bigger than the Industrial Revolution. I really enjoy reading things around the cognitive revolution, where humans emerge and evolve. And I also love reading things around the agric revolution. I'm going to talk more around that in a few minutes to come. And then you talk about the unification of human, as well as the scientific revolution that prelude the Industrial Revolution. So we'll talk more around that as we progress, but it's important we know the story of humankind. And if you go to the chapters of this book, I don't want you to read everything, but if you have time, I would suggest you go through the cognitive revolution. And if possible, you read this, An Animal of No Significance and the Tree of Knowledge. And if possible, you can read A Day in the Life of Adam and Eve. And if you have time, I would absolutely recommend you read this book because it clearly rekindles your thinking of the history of a human. And I mean, I always say this, if I have time to go back to university to study, I will study history. Because history is one of the most interesting part that most of us ignore. If you don't know your history, there is no way you can evolve and be a better society. So please, the cognitive revolution is something that I think most of us in this part of the world are struggling to navigate. And sincerely speaking, most of us are still not exploiting the cognitive ability that God has bestowed on us. And if you talk about innovation, it's basically about going extra mile, doing things beyond the usual. And I think my student in the last discussion we had talked about the DNA of innovators. And if you look at the DNA of innovators and the attribute that distinguish innovators and those that don't innovate, if you take, for example, questioning is a very high task done by human to question the status quo, to see why this is happening, why this is not happening. And I mean, I like telling this, the most innovative guy of our time is Steve Jobs. And if you read the DNA of Innovator book, I'm going to share the book as well with you. It's a book written by Clayton Christensen. Christensen is a professor at Harvard University, and he has done a lot of academic work at Harvard Business Review. With Harvard Business Review, as well as his own Clayton Institute. I was privileged to listen to him in person, and I have watched a lot of his video. And I think he was the guy that coined the word of disruptive innovation. And I think I have posted some document for you in the disruptive innovation section of our innovators, of our introduction to innovation. So if you have time, go through his book. And in his book, he clearly pointed out the 5 attributes that innovators are really, really ahead of us. I mentioned questioning. And why he mentions Steve Jobs as the most innovative guy in the world is because he asked this question, why we have computers only in the science community or in the big industries or only for the government, and why computers are big. He asked this question. And his thinking is, why not human or individual that run things in their bedroom, in their kitchen, in their backyard, have computers? And that question led him to network with one of his associates that is very, very expert in electrical engineering. And he said, yes, because computers are big because they consume a lot of power. And that's basically what computer does, given computing power. And along the way, they were able to talk together, and they were able to break the barrier, and they led to the development of personal computing. And that's why most of us have tablet wearables. Is because of the question Steve Jobs coined about why we only have computers in the scientific environment, as well as why computers are really big in the mainframe and mini-frame architecture. And his association with his colleague who is expert in power engineering led them to develop something really, really very big. So if you take questioning, you take association and networking, a key element that innovators have. And also the 4th element of innovators that they have, we don't have, is they observe the environment and ecosystem. And I tell this all the time to my students, why do we have word processing technology now in our computer and our tablet? Is because the same Steve Jobs asked a question while growing up. In his neighborhood, he discovered a building where the old, the young, black, white, Latino, poor, and the rich go in every evening. And his thinking is, by evening, people should be at home resting, or they should be at the pub or doing some sport. But he sees people flooding into a particular building and without any racial discrimination. And he asked the question, why are they going in there? And he went in there and he discovered that they are learning calligraphy. So that is observation. He observed his environment, and that led him to go in there, and he discovered they are learning calligraphy. And he found calligraphy very fascinating, and he just get interest into learning calligraphy, and he joined them and he learned. He experimented what calligraphy is, and that led us to have the word processing technology. So I can go on and on and on, telling you stories around how big innovators come up with a big idea that is solving current problems. If you take the history of vaccination, the same story. It's a product of questioning, observation, experimenting, networking, and association. I think I have talked about that in the previous conversation. The same thing with Facebook. The same thing with YouTube. The same thing with Zoom. The founder of Zoom works with Cisco for too many years. And he has been telling them, guys, you can do virtual meeting without having to have a hardware. I remember 10 years ago, for you to have this type of meeting that we do, each one of us must have a specialized hardware. Usually you need to have that hardware, you need to have that device to do the virtual meeting. But now it's democratized. And I think Zoom, Meet, and a few other technologies have disrupted the entire communication system. The same thing with Microsoft. A lot of innovation happening all over there. Telegraph, as you guys do, connect, name it. If you take bioengineering, biomedical, precision agriculture, it's a combination of asking the hard question. Why things are not going fine, why things are going this way. Can we change this model and have this model to get this thing done much better? So the cognitive revolution is still really very relevant to our understanding. I would suggest you go through the book. And if you notice, even in the book, Harari gave many interesting examples. I mean, lion is a big animal. If you take horse, we base our assumption based on horsepower. But human is able to humble these big animals because cognitive revolution is really much more beyond what they have. So the agri-revolution, I think for Africa, we are still struggling to even feed. We are talking about how to build food security. Many countries, they have forgot about food security. It's not something that people think about it now. Because the reality is you cannot innovate if you have an empty stomach. And I think it's something that I think is very important. We begin to innovate to see how we can possibly get into food security, water security, even safety. I watched a video done by one of the former governors from the southeast. From the southwest, south. And he talked about education. I think he said in his state they have about 7% out of school children, while some other states have about 50% of our children not going to school, which is a big issue. So if children are not going to school, it really shows a big danger ahead of us. So how do we innovate? How do we think? You ask a question. I ask myself this question every day, and I told this story 2 days ago when I had this type of opportunity to talk. I said not too long ago, I traveled to Kaduna by train, and I counted over 2,500 youths just up the road, or some in the farm, some in the junkyard, some in the mining site, some in the bush, just roaming around, over 2,000. Just in a 2 hours train journey. I have counted this for 30 days. While coming to work, I used to count how many number of children that should have been in the school, but they're not in the school. So I'm getting very worried about seeing these children not in the school. And that's why we do a lot of intervention around supporting children that are not in the school to go back to the school. So it's a question that we need to ask. Why are they not going to the school? Do they need food? If they need food, then how do we give them food? And I remember the Minister of Education recently said in one of the media briefing that government have taken about 2 million children back to school. Very impressive. So we as innovators, we can ask the question, how did the federal government take these children back to the school? And that can inform our collective effort to see how we can bring back the status quo. And I think it's an area where most of us need to begin to think about it. And we need to really, really build this culture. And I always tell my students, if you have time, go to the internet, search the innovators DNA question. You can do the assessment. And if you go through the assessment, I think it's about $150 that you can pay and do the assessment. And they will tell you you are not doing good in asking questions, you're not doing good in association, you're not good in networking. You see, networking and association is a two different thing. And I think though they have some similarities, but it's important if we begin to distinguish each. And experimenting is also something that have to do with observation. You know, observation led usually to experimenting something. If you observe something, you say, oh, how to do this, how to do that, and maybe I can try, maybe if I try, I can make a positive impact. And that also led to boosting someone's creativity. So if you have time, go through this book. Then the part 3 of the book, Unification of Humankind, talk about the arrow of history, talk about the center of money, the imperial vision, the law of religion, and the secret of success. And I watched Harari's video just recently. He was put into the stage by one of the leading editor at Economist, and he was put side by side by Mustafa. Mustafa is one of the leading AI investor and innovator, and they talk about very serious issue that is really militating us now. And they talk about the human civilization, and they talk about human involvement and how human thinking and engagement with the reality and society change. And of recent, I remember they talk about things around things around independence, how most of the developing countries got their independence, and along the way, does that really change something for good also or for bad? And I remember while watching the video, they talk about what will change the future now. I remember they talk about television, radio, they talk about printing press, and they mentioned in their article that this agent of socialization or modernization are centered around being engaged or being given content by the human. If you have a printing press, you need to have someone that will write the books or the article or the blog for people to have access. If you have a radio station, someone have to talk. If you have a TV station, someone have to talk. But now with generative AI, this AI, they are emerging, they are evolving, they are learning, they are relearning, they generate content, and they are leveraging what we have said and what we didn't even say, and they leverage how we even react to digital content and how we even respond to things we see in the internet, and they are learning from that, and they are building their own they are building their own intelligence, and they talk about the general human intelligence, and so it's really, really very important we begin to think about this, and probably as we progress, we can bring the innovation scope into our perspective. Then if you talk about the scientific revolution, they talk about the discovery of ignorance, very interesting thing, the marriage of science and empire. I think it's really one of the sections I love reading in this book. And they talk about the capitalist greed. And I remember reading something around Adam Smith in one of the book written by one of the prominent economists, and they talk about we should reach the end of capitalism by, I think, 2060. And I think with the digital revolution, globalization, getting out of capitalism, I think is something that I don't see it happening soon. And I think so one of the authors said capitalism is now pushed forward by almost 500 years. And from the capitalism theory, by now, we should be thinking, we don't need to be thinking about what to eat, what to wear. People should just think about entertainment, creativity, and having a much more better, meaningful life. And if you look at the statistics and indicators globally, uh, people are living really, really in a very desperate situation. And even though we claim that there is a lot of advancement in tech, science, and civilization, and I mentioned this even 2 days ago in the section we had, China, if you look at China 1960, 1990, and to date, a lot of things happened because they were able to do things that fit within their own status quo, and they were able to do things in a Chinese way. And if you look at the productivity growth of the world, China is about 7 to 8% annual productivity growth, while other developed countries are just battling to just be within the 1%. And if you look at 1960, the productivity growth of the developed countries at 4%, but now 1%. Even though we have AI, we have industrial revolution, we have fintech, we have financial inclusion, we have robotics and whatever, but we are still struggling to get the means for us to have a meaningful life. And I think we also asked this question in ICT for D, and this is something coming from a Nobel laureate, Amartya Sen, where he talked about people having a choices and functioning to live a life they value. And I remember he was put into a massive criticisms by his critic that you cannot just have an open model where people have no list or have no reference of what they need to say, this is my priority. And he said he don't want to have a list that could be generalized. So I think that the reality, if you look at it as you are evolving, as human is evolving, science is becoming more cheaper and more easy for a common man to access, then there is a need for us to be in a much more better life. And I think I've mentioned this in ICT for D, particularly in Nigeria. Globally, we are number 4 in terms of access and number of people that use digital innovation as well as tech system. We are number 4. China is number 1. India is number 2. US is number 3. We are number 4. But still, that doesn't translate into having a much more prosperous and society that we are very, very much proud of. And that have to do with our thinking towards or responding towards to the global change and how the society evolves. So it's important if you're thinking about innovation. Innovation can happen anywhere. Innovation can happen in the lab. Innovation can happen even in a beer parlor. Innovation can happen in madrasa. It can happen in the church. And I think a lot of work is ongoing in Nigeria that just require a push for us to get to the promised land. And I think it all goes down to building a system where most of us can have the support they need to excel. And I know the federal government is doing a lot through NIDA, trying to see how this innovation could be pushed forward. And I think we have done a lot, and we have leapfrogged in many key areas, particularly with the access to mobile phone, digital identity. I think half of us have digital identity. We have ID number, half of us. And I think even yesterday, one of the state coordinator of the NIMSI shared a circular with me that going forward, for one to access government services, they must have identity. I think that's a big push for digital revolution. And I know NIDA have done a lot around Startup Friday, a lot of work around startup to support pre-ideation and ideation. And I think it's clearly open to us that if we really want to innovate, we have all the platform to innovate. All what we want to innovate in these days is having access to digital technology, having access to digital content, and there is a lot of work around open science, open innovation, open data. And just this morning, on Monday, I had a meeting with Nazir Halilu, He's leading the grade 3 project in Nigeria, and I was very impressed with the quality of work they have done. In fact, the most interesting part I have seen is the number of the mosques in Nigeria. They have really captured that. And I asked him many serious questions that I think he said, this is what the fund or the project is interested in, working with collaborative partners, building data around practically everything. And the most interesting part I've also seen from him is showing me where schools are cited, and he was able to demonstrate to me with what they have done, how they are advising government where to build a school, because I think the standard for them is school must be within 2 kilometers. So a lot of innovation is ongoing, and all what we need to do is to tap into the open innovation ecosystem. And when I say open innovation ecosystem, I mean open data, open network, open system, open science, open research. In fact, practically everything is open now. If you have a grant this day to do a research, the grant agency will put you into a rigor of open science. If you do an interview, can you put the raw interview for us to see? If you do a visit, can you geotag the location where you capture this data? And I think a lot of work is really, really ongoing in Nigeria, and that may likely support us to have a more social and inclusive society. So if you have time, read all this chapter. I like this, the marriage of science and the empire. I like the capitalist greed. And the permanent revolution is also something that I think is really, really very, very interesting. So if you have time, as I said, read this book, have an idea around, beyond just this course that we are doing, have an idea about how human evolved. The story of humankind is very, very important. Read things around the cognitive revolution, which I think is still very relevant. I think that's the most important part for us to revolutionize. While we think about science, most of the science fiction movie we watch, and people that travel a lot, when they go to advanced countries, they are already not thinking about security and safety. They are thinking about having a more prosperous and having more enjoyable life. And that's why you see the demands of developed country is much more different from our developing countries. So I would suggest let us have an open mind, go through the history, get to know the cognitive revolution, get to know what happened in the agri-revolution, get to know what happened in the unification of human, and get to know what happened in the scientific revolution. Very, very important. So if you go to the folder again, I think I have this book also that I put for you, Create the Future, Tactics for Disruptive Thinking. If you have time, I would suggest read this book. It's one of the New York Times best-selling author, Jeremy. I've read some of his book. It's really, really interesting book. And if you read this book, you will definitely learn how to innovate and how you can be a real change agent. And when I say change agent, I don't mean you have to change Nigeria entirely. You can change how things happen in your village, in your society, in your community, and how things even change within even the ideas program that we're doing. I must acknowledge one of our participants. He set up a WhatsApp group. And I think today he have about 900 participants. This is an innovation. And things that we put in the classroom, he download them, and he make them much, much more easier for you to digest. And I must also acknowledge one of our colleagues, Grema. When I posted the video for the ICT for D, I think about 16 videos, he said, sir, I think it would be nice if I use the AI tool to convert this video into text format. Because the English is very hard, and most of us may not be able to understand what the guy is saying, but I do understand some of the few things he's saying. And I must really appreciate Grema. Grema took time within a week. He was able to summarize all the videos into about 160 pages. So this is innovation, and I believe when I say to my student and I talk about innovation, you don't need to be Mark Zuckerberg, you don't need to be Bill Gates. You could do something very small. And if you remember, if you read history, things around like Darwinism, Einstein, Einstein do a lot of work around science and physics, but he didn't really break through during his time. I read a book about 5 years ago. I still have the book. It's a book written by Stephen Hawking, where he wrote an autobiography of Einstein. Very interesting book. And some of the work that Stephen Hawking put forward is the work that he got inspired from other scientists like the Einstein. If you take Elon Musk, he's one of the most innovative guy of our time, and he's practically leveraging work that has already been done by the top scientists. At the same time, if you take, I always like to tell this story, the guy that invented World Wide Web, he's still alive, Sir Tim Berners-Lee. I was privileged to listen to his lectures and in one conference, and he invented the World Wide Web, and the capitalists of the web or of the internet leveraged his work. Without World Wide Web, there would be no Facebook, there would be no YouTube, there would be no e-commerce, there would be no e-learning. We are leveraging web technology to do this type of thing. I think we now have Web 3.0, right, Abdul? So we have Web 3.0. We have Web 1.0, which is basically one-way. Web 2.0 is two-way, where people could have good interaction. Then Web 3 is beyond what we think about. It's taking internet or digital communication to the next level. He's really very sad to see that internet is being used as a tool for capitalism. And all the guys that ride on his technology are now billionaires. I'm not sure Sir Tim Berners-Lee is a billionaire. I know he's still teaching in one of the colleges at Oxford University. And I follow the work he's doing with one of the leading data scientists, Sir Nibald, I think Shibod. He was at the University of Southampton. When I was doing my PhD, my supervisor invited him in 2015 or 16, to give a keynote around the work he has done with open data and open innovation. So, I mean, it's important to read history about innovators, and it's important to know the limitation they experience. And even I say this all the time, innovation can happen anywhere. I think it's important we have this thinking. We don't need to solve the global problem. If you can solve a simple problem by just innovating. I mean, someone talked about Indomie to us in one of the conference. Indomie is a product of innovation. Why people like Indomie noodles? Because it's cooked to quick. I mean, it's quick to cook, and it tastes good. And you can make it much more better if you garnish it with vegetable and some onions, and you could have a better meal. And Indomie happened to be a fast food because someone think about how do we cook food that is rapid. And I watched a video, I think, circulated recently. The Chinese have done a technology that you can cook rice by just putting water in a solution, then you begin to have steam, and you can have rice cooked on the go, which is very, very, I know, when I watched it, I thought it's a fiction, but someone that understands Hausa who happened to be in China did the video and shared recently. So this is big innovation. So how do we fight food security? How do we fight insurgency? We cannot just fight this insecurity with a normal gun. And I mentioned this many times, why not we use undersurface drone? Just like RAD, you just release it, and we have underwater drone that we use in fighting piracy in the sea. And so I think technology is really at the forefront. And although we may not have access to this technology, when I say technology, I don't really mean digital technology, or I don't really mean very heavy nuclear. I'm talking about the basic technology. Even a knife is a technology. It's a technology. So if you have knife, you may not be really your phone may not be snatched very quick. If someone asks you to wind down, you take your knife out and you push it out. I mean, you can chase them out. So I think that's why Africa got colonized. I say this all the time, because when the white man came to us, they came with machine guns and big equipment. Our men just have bow and arrow. and before you put your bow and arrow and push it off, and the chance of you firing is not. So I think we just have to begin to innovate. Bow and arrow is a good technology. Then, and now we're talking about AI, we're talking about quantum computing. We're talking, I mean, just this week, the Minister of Digital Economy hosted over 150 delegates to talk about the AI for Nigeria. It's an impressive work. Blockchain policy we have in Nigeria. But where we have issue is putting this into reality. And I've talked to a few colleagues that work in the blockchain, even our colleagues Jega and Chima that are part of this program, Dominion. They're the leading blockchain technology in sub-Saharan Africa. They are leaders. So, but can we begin to see evidence? Can we begin to see solution been coming up from this blockchain technology? You know, and I read a book written by one of our facilitators, and it's an impressive book. He was able to tell us a story about what he thinks we need to do to begin to put blockchain, because application of blockchain can happen anywhere, you know, because we have issues around identity, we have issues around address system, we have issue around payment system, we have issue around power being theft by the house owners and industries. We're talking about band 1, band 2, band 3, or band A, band B, band C. So how do we apply this technology to ensure people have the right power? People, and I think someone posted this in the Facebook yesterday, can you tell us how many hours you get from the Discord that is operating in your neighborhood? And many people that say we are in band A, but we are not getting even band D or band C. So how do we use this tech? You know, how do we innovate? And I always tell the youngsters is, if you have a solution, people will buy. You know, if you have a solution, forget about the government buying, giving you a big contract. Forget about Dangote and Zenith Bank and GT Bank giving you a job. Have a simple solution that a woman friend Accra in your neighborhood could use your innovative solution. You know, and if you go to all over the world, or every part of Nigeria, you see Chinese food, you see Indian food, you see mandi rice being cooked. People line up, queue up to buy Chinese meal. But I've never seen this type of food being put in China. I've never seen a dambu is a local house of food, or amala being packaged like Indomie. If I want to cook amala, I don't need to go through the process of pounding, grinding. You know, if I want to cook ewedu soup, very difficult to do. You know, or oha or ukazi soup. Can I have that just like Indomie? Because here we have the raw ingredient. We have tomato, we have vegetables all over. You know, can we have this soup done in a bottle or in a tin or in a can, where all what I need to do is just microwave, or I can even eat? You know, the sardine we eat, the geisha we eat. Can we begin to have that technology? You know, can we begin to use local resources, even fodder? I've never seen fodder that you can put it in a container and just put it in your backyard without having to put it under refrigeration. You know, can we have something? Can we research around how to even make fodder to be a global brand? You know, can we begin to say, oh, I need to have this pounded yam? I've seen the paddy. I mean, how do you call it? Poundo. But it's not as good as the real pounded yam that you get the fresh yam, boil and pound it. It's not as good as the powdered. So we need to do research around that. We need to innovate. We need to think about the model, the best practice of doing things around that. And I've said this many times to colleagues. Possibility of area of innovation is around education, healthcare, agri. The man planted in his farm don't want to hear big signs. All what he wants to know is, if there is no rain, if rain stop, can you give me something that will let my plant grow and I harvest? Simple. If there is a flooding in our area, can we have something? Can we have a seed that could withstand flooding? If you have this, people will definitely buy in. And there is a lot of angel investors, and there is a lot of seed investors that could fund your idea, and along the way you can. So a lot of work that I think we need to to go on. And I love reading this book, and this book definitely, give you a lot of things for you to. You are about experiencing history, highest rate of change, disruption, and opportunity. So if you disrupt, you definitely have opportunity. And I like the notion of disruptive innovation, and not just innovating at the basic level. And one of my mentors, Professor James, I asked him to explain to me in a simple term what disruptive innovation is. He said to me, it's like an elephant and an ant. So elephant is big, is powerful, is mighty, but the ant is very, very tiny. Before you know it, if ant can innovate effectively, it could collapse and put down ant to a zero level. So, as I said, read this book, read a lot about this guy, Jeremy. He's one of the inventors of our lifetime, and he was able to talk effectively around AI, which I think most of you are very much familiar with generative AI, globalization. I think while talking about this, I mentioned a lot around globalization. It's one of the most important things that happen to our life. And this globalization happened because of now we are much more globalized because of the web. Because of the web. And I have some questions, but I will respond in the next few minutes. Then you talk about the genome editing, big data. They are all big words, buzzwords, and that's why in the question I ask you in ICT for D, I asked you to talk about how can we use this tech to solve a simple problem. And I'm very excited to see the work coming from you. And crowdfunding is one of the most important means of innovation. How do you crowdfund? Something is happening in Kano now. People are now planting trees. People are donating money to plant trees. And it's an impressive work. I've seen that for the last 3 to 4 days. A lot of work is ongoing. People are giving money out. And I think that is a good innovation, because if you don't plant trees, in the next few years to come, we may reach an extent. And if you look at the temperature now, 43 degrees, really, really out of scope. So how do we crowdfund or crowdsource to solve a common cause, And even how do we improve equality? How do we support women to be much more better than how they were now? So if you have time, read this book, and it will definitely give you a lot of insight around things. Yeah, this is also one of the most interesting data about the book. 50% of people that he talked believe the organization has a strong innovation plan. Don't believe the organization adapt quickly. I think in innovation is adapt. Adaptation is one of the major barrier to innovation. And he said 48% don't believe they have enough time to work on new ideas. So almost 52% of us have no time to work on new ideas. So we just take ourselves to doing things the usual way. And I think I've said a lot around that. We just have to be ready to really change and do things beyond the usual. And I think from the data he got, 56% don't believe the organization knows how to turn ideas into reality. I think this is a real issue now. I talked to somebody recently. He said he had a startup, and his startup is almost $1 million. So when I talked to him, and he ended up saying, sorry, I don't think my startup have a value now. Because all what I've said my startup can do cannot be converted into real benefit that could even move into commoditization stage. Because if you talk about most of us think, as soon as I innovate, I can have money. Innovation is not just because of money. You could do innovation because you want to make money. That's one of the motivation of innovators. Number two, you could just want to create an influence, just to change the status quo, to show things that we have been doing for the last 200-300 years is not good. You could do it this way, and you could have a better result. I think that's basically most of the innovators' perspective since inception. So I think the key reality here is we need to have a plan. We need to have a very serious plan to adapt to new ideas. At the same time, we need to begin to quickly adapt and change to reality. If we wait until new things happen, we run into trouble. And I mention this all the time. Why most of the things don't happen in this part of our world is because we want to wait until innovative solution get into a maturity state. We don't want to take risk. So you need to take this big risk, and possibly something can happen around that. And you see opportunity hunting, adaptive innovation, infectious messaging, the culture of innovation. So you see how you could create the future framework. And when you say future is innovation, you see the culture of innovation, then you have the ability to change. So the key thing is you need to be able to change, and that push you to have that culture of innovation within your work team, within your innovative scope, or within your project team, or within your program. But the key reality is we have to hunt for new solutions, and we have to hunt and possibly fight things that are really militating us. And basically, you see, you have to ideate, refine, prototype, test, and define. You could start from anywhere. If you test something not good, you could refine it, you could, move it up, and take it up. And basically, from ideation, from pre-ideation to ideation, if you look at this ideation, you can do it alone in some instance, but if you want to ideate better, you need to have more people supporting within your network. And this refinement, you cannot do it alone, so you need someone to accelerate your thinking. Basically, it may not be money acceleration, it could be better design, it could be maybe forming synergy to have a better solution. But I see this prototyping basically where you need to be scale up. You need someone to give you tool, you need someone to give you a new method, you need someone to give you a factory to do something much, much more bigger. So if you look at the startup ecosystem and the flow you go through for you to have an innovative idea, see, you have the ideation, you need to have the incubation. You could incubate your idea alone, but most of the time you need someone to support you. I see this basically where you need to refine your thinking. Then if you accelerate, you incubate. So you need to cross the valley of death. And that valley of death is the most difficult part of innovators' crisis. You have a good idea, you incubate, someone accelerates you, but you drawn into the valley of, the valley of death. But if you are able to take off and scale through swim out of the valley of death, you have your solution becoming a very, very formidable solution that could bring value to you. And when I say value, I mean money, I mean influence, I mean reach, and visibility, basically. So I think a lot of work. So in the book, I would suggest, you need to reach part 1, the ability to change. I think that's the main thing. And if you go into the chapter 2, you could see the culture of innovation. And that culture of innovation happen anywhere. And there is not specific time for that to happen. It can happen because your consumers' taste or preference is changing. It's because your children have a newer perspective about how they perceive you as a father or as a mother. And maybe if you are a leader, maybe because your followers perceive you as someone who is completely different, then you need to do opportunity hunting. This chapter really, really guides us on how to hunt for innovation. And that basically falls within the DNA of innovators. You need to have a big network where you have access to wider society with different skill set. Then you need to associate with them. Then adaptive innovation, you need to really adapt. You need to be very, very reactive. Don't wait until things went bad, and that's why many companies collapse. If you take companies like BlackBerry and a few other companies that just die naturally. It's not that they're not innovative, but they wait until something happened. When BlackBerry came, You cannot use their messenger, only if you have BlackBerry phone. Along the way, we started getting new messaging app, and they said, "Oh, sorry, you can install Messenger in other phones." Quite late, So, and this infectious messaging, your message for innovation must be very, very visible. It must be very potent, and it must be leading. If you have a solution and you cannot use the message to infect people to know what you're offering easily, no one evangelized you to use WhatsApp. No one pushed you to use Facebook. No one pushed you to buy a mobile phone because you see it as something that you cannot do without that. I don't really see us not saying that, "Oh, sorry, I'm no longer going to do any social media," because these solutions are very infectious. Once they get into us, you feel like you just have to do it, even like a coke. People that are really into taking coke, they cannot be off the coke. You say, "Oh, I must go to this Iya Amala joint," because Iya Amala is very innovative. When you go there, you eat Amala, you get comfort, you get satisfaction, basically. Not more than it's, "Oh, I must buy Honda," because Honda have something really, really that. So, as I said, we don't have much time to do this course. If you have time, go through all these books, and if there is any question you need to put, you can email us. I'll be happy to support. So, as I said, basically today I have just a few things to do: review ICT for D, an emerging tech model, review Fatima's lecture. I think Fatima's have done a lot. She talked about what is innovation, how innovation happens, the process of innovation, what innovators usually do, and I've done a bit about this. So maybe tomorrow, if we have time, if we have good time tomorrow, we'll distinguish between the concept of creativity and innovation, which I think basically that's what I did today, to show that innovation basically happened because that is creativity. Creativity is a raw material for innovation. And I keep saying to my students, innovation is not invention. Innovation is a product of invention and commercialization. And that commercialization doesn't mean making money. So by tomorrow, I will still add more to what Fatima did in her video, Understanding Innovation. And she talked about the factors associated with innovation. And tomorrow, I will go deep into talking about the 4 types of innovation: the disruptive innovation, which I think we spent a lot of time this morning talking about disruptive innovation. Then we'll talk about the incremental innovation and the radical innovation, and how do you even sustain the innovation if you have them. And I think we talk about what innovation is. I like this content that I grabbed from the Royal Academy of Engineering. They talk around humanity has innovated throughout our history. So, and that basically connects to what I have said earlier with the cognitive revolution. Human cognitively revolutionized. Then you do the agri revolution. If you look at it, this happened 300 years before Christ. You have the scientific revolution. Then you also have the industrial revolution. Then you have the human. I think basically the industrial revolution started at the 1800, where you have the steam engine, and you have the scale up in industrialization and a few other issues. Are we okay? Yes, then if you look at this, the humanity has really innovated throughout history, basically. And I've mentioned this to know about this, read Yuval Harari's *Sapien: A Brief History of Humankind*. I think I was able to take you through the book. Then our modern world is the result of this innovation. We have a modern world now where we have vaccination, we have antibiotics, we have good food, we have safety. We are no longer at war, unlike before, where we have no safety because we have democracy. Democracy is a product of innovation. People think, why do I have to go into war? Why Kasana have to go and fight Kano? Why Daura have to go and fight war? Why You don't have to go and fight empire and the rest. So people are no longer at war now. The physical war, but we are still at war of ideology, of politics, of democracy, and whatever. So today's innovation will shape our future. And that's why I said if you have time, you also need to read Harari's book, Homo Deus. Homo Deus talked or projected the human of tomorrow. Earlier on I wanted to talk about the millennial, generation Z, and generation Alpha, how they perceive innovation, how they perceive things. So I'll talk more around that as we progress tomorrow. And just to wrap it up, if you look at this, 2.5 million years ago, where you have the story of humankind, where human evolved, the Homo sapiens dominate the planet, yet we are only one of the Homo species that use to exist. Our time on Earth is just spent on its evolutionary timeline. Then you have the Homo sapiens, 0.2 million years ago. How did mankind became the dominant species on Earth? You have the Industrial Revolution, the Agro Revolution, 100 years ago. So by understanding our history and how sapiens became the dominant species, we can broaden our perspective and make more deliberate choices about our future. I think that's what basically I try to do today. Talk about the story of humankind and probably talk about the future of humanity. And whatever we do today will shape the future. And we blame the past because we didn't know what happened in the past. But we have a chance now to shape the future of tomorrow, and that basically we just have to how to invest. And I said, if you have time, these three books, uh, they are most rich, Homo sapien, the 12th and 21st century, as well as the Homo Deus. It will really give you a perspective of humanity. In addition to what we know from the God's scripture, we have practically everything from the Bible, from the Quran, and other books God sent to us. But this is in addition to. Then if you go through this, I also like this book, Human Brain Science Development and Human Progress. 1 million years ago, other animal lunch, you have 700,000 years ago, the human invented fire through striking stones. And 100,000 years ago, we began to have tools like the one I had mentioned, the cutlass, the gun with fire, even houses. Before human just roam around like animals, no house, and the rest. And here you have, sorry, I have a boyfriend. Hi there. I mean, the animals don't have a boyfriend, they don't even have a wife, they don't have a partner. They just do what they want. And that is evolution. So human really go through very well organized structure. And 12 years ago, we have the agri revolution. Before humans just move around, whatever they have, they eat. They say, oh, why do we have to keep moving? Why not we have a farm? We do dry season farming, we do wet season farming. So it's an innovation. And now we're even thinking of precision agriculture. That happened because our ancestors, our forefathers, are working with something around that. Before we eat anything, now we don't ask, oh, this has little nutrition. I need to eat fish, I need to have protein, I need to have carbohydrates so that I can have a better life. You know. Then you think about the industrial revolution, where we have steam engine, we have printing press, we have railway, and the rest. If you talk about the second industrial revolution, that's when you have the electric revolution, where you have electric machine instead of steam engine powered machine by human. Now you can power by electricity. That's the second industrial revolution. When you talk about the third revolution, it's more of a digital revolution where things happen in a digital format. So we'll talk more around that tomorrow as we progress. Then we talk about the fourth industrial revolution, where it's AI. Now we are working with AI. AI is having equal intelligence as human. But some futuristic are even saying that AI now are human. So, but what will happen in the future? If AI begin to say, we need to have a discussion, can I go for break? If AI begin to say, oh, sorry, I'm a woman, I'm a man, I need to have a partner, I need to have a husband. You know, oh, sorry, I need to go for Easter holiday, I need to go for Christmas holiday. If AI begin to do that, because AI is learning from what we do. So I think that's an area where most of us will begin to think. And I like what Gary said, the future of tomorrow relies on us, how we engage with the society. We are modern people, yes, but the future is really bright and it won't be bright. The future will be bright if we definitely begin to make the future be much more brighter. So I'm going to stop here. I think I've said this, the Neolithic revolution, you have the machine revolution, you have the green revolution, then now you have the digital revolution. Genetically modified crop product, introducing autonomous. I mean, all these are already there. There's no future. You know, I've said this earlier. People are innovating rapidly. Some scientists are even saying that when we have to eat food, or you can have a chip in your body. You feel like you want to eat ukazi and amala. You just feel like you have it. Practically, we don't need to eat food. I don't need to eat food. I only eat food just to service my crab and maybe to get energy to keep moving. So if I can have a cheap computer plan in my body that will give me energy, I will live a better life. Because the more I keep eating, the more I begin to accumulate higher protein, higher calcium, maybe too much water that could lead my system to malfunction. Big issue. Then before you say, oh, sorry, you have diabetes, sorry, you have hypertension, sorry, you have cancer, and I think that's the end. So scientists are thinking about how do we stop any human from eating. And this scientists, they don't have double brain or triple brain. They have the same brain that we have, but they ask questions, very serious questions. Now, I've said this, to be honest, we're not talking about religion, we're talking about science. Some scientists are even thinking of curing death. They see death as a disease. You know, you can have a tablet just to cure your sickness, but now they're thinking of giving you a chip that could stop you from dying. And they ask a simple question. If you look at all the histories that we have, humans live 900 years, 1,000 years. Why humans are not living longer now? So thank you very much. I'll stop here. If you have any question, I will be happy to respond. Yeah, someone asked, I will get the book. Yes, the book is already online. I cannot accept the deadline. Sorry, I cannot accept the deadline. It's something that, so tomorrow we'll continue. Thank you very much.